Water Fun. Experts are available to visit schools or organizations in areas they serve to help you learn about water and its incredible journey from the source to your tap, including water treatment, water quality, and the distribution process. New Jersey American Water's Puddles van can attend your community event to provide water. For more information on the Puddles Water Van or the New Jersey American Water Speakers Bureau, email puddles@amwater.com.
We continue the chance for showers and thunderstorms through the evening and overnight hours, so be very careful if you get stuck in one of those downpours. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, lows in the lower to mid-50s. Tomorrow, drying out, partly to mostly sunny skies, mild, breezy, highs in the upper 60s, and Wednesday is our next chance for rain. Explore, learn, and play at Rutgers Day, Saturday, April 25th, a free day of fun and learning for everyone. Visit explore.rutgers.edu for more information. I'm meteorologist Dan Zarrow.
Springtime means the return of disease-carrying pests. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Young, brought to you by Jersey Shore Pharmacy Compounding.
And I'm Mark Taylor, owner-pharmacist of Jersey Shore Pharmacy, compounding medication solutions for juniors to seniors to pets.
Springtime means the arrival of mosquitoes and ticks. Protect your pup from the diseases they carry.
Heartworm preventative medication and Lyme disease vaccinations are the first step, but those pests carry other diseases. Your pets require additional protection.
Treat your pet with topical treatments, powders, shampoos, sprays, and natural alternatives. Contact your vet before using a tick prevention regimen, especially on cats.
Check your pets regularly. If you find a tick, wear gloves to remove. You can find products that are designed to deter mosquitoes and remove ticks.
When you have a medication problem, Jersey Shore Pharmacy is your compounding solution.
We prepare hard-to-find medications, customized creams, and specially flavored medication in easy-to-give forms for dogs, cats, and exotic pets. Jersey Shore Pharmacy provides the highest quality products with a caring, knowledgeable service.
Jersey Shore Pharmacy, that's compounding excellence. For more information, visit JerseyShorePharmacy.com.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the Congressman, brought to you by Jersey Shore Compounding Pharmacy. Compounding medication solutions from juniors to seniors to pets. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Ask the Congressman, your Congressman, Congressman Frank LoBiondo. We're live at WPG Talk Radio 1450 studios. It's 3 minutes past the hour. We're going to be with you for the next hour. We have a load of questions standing by. We already have many of your emails ready to go, and don't be afraid to call in at 609-407-1450. Ask the Congressman, a monthly program to benefit you, the public, in order to have you the opportunity to ask questions of Congressman LoBiondo. So don't be shy. 609-407-1450. We're sponsored by Jersey Shore Pharmacy. And Congressman LoBiondo, it is great to see you. Welcome to your program.
Sure. Great to be back once again. Thank you.
How are you, sir?
Fantastic.
Good. And by the way, we had a nice little gathering of friends and colleagues about a week ago. And I want to thank you and Tina for being a big part of our gathering.
Well, it was a very special group with a special evening, with a great cause, and an opportunity to see a lot of very long-time friends in what could not have been a more perfect setting.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for being there. Also want to remind our listeners you can watch the program tonight. Go to WPG Talk Radio 1450. That's WPG Talk Radio 1450's website at WPG1450.com. And just click on our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to view in beautiful, high-quality digital video and audio of tonight's program. We're also simulcasting this on our Town Square Media sister station, WOBM-AM, located in Toms River, New Jersey. They're carrying our live YouTube feed as well, so we welcome our sister station and all of those listeners and viewers to the programs as well. Congressman, Veterans Care is back in the news. I think it's fair to say that despite a lot of noise, we're really not seeing any improvements, are we?
No, unfortunately, we're not where we need to be, and I am very disappointed. I met personally with our new Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and he said all the right things. His heart is in the right place. He did caution at almost each of the meetings that there are something like 350 or 70,000 federal employees in the VA, and that it was not going to be easy to turn it around. And I don't care how good his intentions are. if in fact the people working there don't change this mentality. Harry, time and time and time again, a veteran calls the VA, and before they get the question out, the answer is no. Everything is no. It's always no.
And when it's not no, they're waiting.
They're waiting
to be told no.
And why wouldn't they have a culture of saying, sure, I'm going to help you. I'm going to find a way to help you. I'm going to find a way to help. We have some incredibly heartbreaking stories of veterans who have given so much for their country, who are dying, literally dying, and can't get approvals. And we've stepped in, and Michael Francis in my office does this just about full time.
Fantastic.
To try to impact, but it's not where it should be, and this is not how we should be treating our veterans.
Congressman, tell your viewers and your listeners, your approach is gaining a lot of steam. I think it's the respect that the process has for you, that veterans have for you, that your significant chairmanships in the Congress. Your approach is getting noticed by people that, in my eyes, hold a lot of weight. What is your approach?
Well, we have been on a mission since I've been a member of Congress to bring more community-based health services to the district. We have done that through some pilot programs. We have done it through just working the issues. I mean, an example, a few years ago, you could not get dialysis locally. You had to go to the VA. That's changed. But the real answer, Harry, is the veterans have a card, and they make the choice of where they want to go. So a veteran wants to go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. It's their call. Many of them have come to me and say, I really like the VA. I like, the services. I like this. Fine, you can still go to the VA. I believe, and it's legislation I've introduced, that first and foremost, this would be the best thing for the veteran. And secondly, I think the VA, if they gave it a chance as a pilot program in this district, I'm not saying go national. I'm saying give us a chance to do this as a pilot program, and they would find that it's much more cost effective.
What do you think it is it a threat to bureaucracy? I mean, for example, and you said it very well a moment ago, you could have a veteran that needs certain counseling, some things that if you need to go to Delaware from, say, South Jersey, it's worth the ride. It's a terrible ride, as you know, and that has to change. But I understand that there are certain treatments and certain things that need to be done there. But as you know, and you just were starting to talk about it, there are many things that can be done right here at home, whether it's at Shore Medical Center, somewhere locally. What's the rub? What's the problem?
Well, I think it's turf. I think it's a turf war. And here's the really crazy part. This legislation I've introduced does not require legislation. The Secretary of the VA
could take executive action
for a pilot program.
Why won't they do it?
And just do it. Well, I will tell you, there are some...
Because weren't we close?
We were
TRICARE, and we thought we were just knocking on the door.
We have some veterans who have said, not really from this district, well, maybe a couple, if we can't do it nationally, we don't want to do it. And I'm saying, to ask them to take this national with the flip of a switch,
it's unrealistic.
It's probably not going to happen. So we need them to have an experience.
Try a pilot, and if it does very well, then you try it somewhere else.
You can tweak the pilot.
Yep.
You can, the computers have to be switched over. There's a whole lot of things that have to be done. But you could tweak the pilot and say, listen, we've tried this, and let them pick the period of time. Let them pick the parameters, but just give us the opportunity, because they keep telling me, Harry, we don't have the numbers.
You're listening to the United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo. It is, and don't be shy. You can jump in. We'll have questions. We want to prioritize your questions. We'll get some of your emails in just a little bit. John is in Wildwood. We'll get to you, William, in Egg Harbor Township. We'll get to your question a little bit later in the hour. And standing by on deck in the 6 o'clock hour, Ask the Mayor with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. It's the first time we've ever had the doubleheader like this. It just worked out that way for the Congressman's schedule. Ask the Mayor had already been scheduled. In fact, moved to this date. Ask the Mayor would have taken place last week. So it's a nice doubleheader. And stay with us for the ride. It's going to be a lot of information, both at the federal and at the local level. And we've got a lot of Atlantic City updates coming up for you next hour. So, Congressman, here's what I sense with this. In the almost 25 years that we've been together talking about these kinds of issues, that they get very hot and heavy. Sometimes, and I think that from Mike Merlino to Bill Butler to April Kaufman, and that incredible effort of tens of thousands of petitions that were signed, we seem to get excruciatingly close. General Shinseki, we got his attention. I say we, I didn't do anything. You all did. And it looked like we were so close. And then all of a sudden, it's like the air gets let out of our basketball. And then we're starting all over again, pumping up the ball again. Can we ever get the ball over the goal line?
Well, I believe so, and I will never give up. But we can't miss that we've also had some successes because of April Kaufman and a lot of committed veterans, some of whom you mentioned, all those thousands of signatures for local dialysis.
Wasn't that some of the biggest numbers of petitions ever gathered?
Well, I'm guessing it was. I don't.
Certainly in our area is what I mean.
Certainly in our area, absolutely. And, you know, I delivered them to the VA, and, you know, a lot of people said, well, it'll never make a difference, and never make a difference, and it did make a difference. And we have gotten more community-based health care here, and we did get a new clinic here. Now, it's not operating the way it should, but we were able to make some progress, but it is painfully slow and excruciating for the veterans who need the services locally.
It's terrible. And we've seen terrible examples of veterans actually dying waiting for care. That's just so unacceptable.
It is totally unacceptable.
And I understand nobody is losing anything. They're keeping their bonuses. Everything's just hunky-dory, isn't it, sir?
Well, this is also very painful because
they caught people committing malfeasance in office. It should be official misconduct.
We gave the secretary the new authority to cut through that and let people go. And the secretary is telling us, well, it's got to be due process, and, well, we have to do this. So in the meantime, for the veteran, it's the same old, same old. And we had a report, you know, just within the last day or so of a veteran who was contemplating suicide, got put on hold, stayed on hold for, I don't know, 10 minutes, had a call back, didn't get answers that he needed. And here's somebody who is just so frustrated with life and the VA that they're ready to end it all. And we get excuses of why we can't do more.
It's terrible. Congressman, from John in Wildwood, he writes into your program, Dear Congressman LoBiondo, why are you and your fellow congresspeople at least trying to close the border and enforcing the current laws? All you are doing is pandering to illegals and giving up on the real American people. Thank you, and stop fearing Obama.
Well, appreciate the email, and this is a huge frustration. When we attempted, through the appropriation for the Department of Homeland Security, to tighten up our situation at the border, we found that even though the House passed it 7 weeks before the deadline was due, the Senate, that needed 60, refused to take it up, and we were faced with closing down the Department of Homeland Security, which, with a terrorist threat, we can get into that, I do not think was a good idea. Still don't think it's a good idea. And unfortunately, unless we get the Democrats, at least some in the Senate, at least 6 or 8 in the Senate, to agree that the president's policies are hurting the country, the president gets to skate on this stuff. And we saw that with, again, very recently with a situation with the Department of Homeland Security, and it is very frustrating.
Congressman, switching gears, because this is just another example of what the federal government does. If sometimes some of our viewers and listeners don't know all the different things that a member of Congress does. Just last week, you were on hand. I remember the event. It was the kickoff of a $57 million fully federally funded beach project in Southern Ocean City, Strathmere, and Sea Isle City. Can you talk about what is involved in this, the fight that's involved, the process?
Well, this was a particularly rewarding program that you pointed out, where our Commissioner of DEP, Bob Martin, came down, and it's a great example of a very positive partnership. But we have to go back to Superstorm Sandy, and we have to go back to how all of my colleagues who had natural disasters from California and Florida and Mississippi and Louisiana, who wanted the federal help, wanted to deny us in New Jersey.
Very aggressively, they were talking trash and everything.
Very aggressively. I very unaffectionately nicknamed them the Hypocrisy Caucus, because it was okay for them but not okay for us. So we literally almost had, well, figuratively, hand-to-hand combat to get that money. When we did, we decided that for the shore communities that we would do something that had never been done before. we were going to eliminate the 65-35 formula, 65 federal, 35% state and local, make it 100% federally funded, and do it for the whole state of New Jersey. Now, this project in Ocean City was rather different and unique because it wasn't a matter of not having the money. In this particular case, we had a problem. Even if you had the money, the projects had to be authorized. And through a glitch, there was a hitch in the authorization, which was driving us nuts. Army Corps of Engineers, the state of New Jersey, DEP, Ocean City's mayor and elected officials. This was a great example of everybody coming together, understanding, identifying the problem, working through the problem, and culminating in the press conference that we had on Friday with that beautiful site. If you've never seen, I think there's some video of it somewhere. If you've never seen what that looks like when the dredge is offshore and pumping it onto the beach, it's an enormous pipe with enormous force that's coming out. And this isn't about people getting a suntan. This is about protecting lives and property. This is about jobs in the economy. And I argue with my colleagues all the time that if we don't have visitors, we don't have small businesses. If we don't have small businesses, we don't have those jobs. If you don't have the beaches, you don't have the visitors.
Right.
So this was something that was particularly rewarding, and it's putting us in a good place. And this project is not just Ocean City. This project is Ocean City, Strathmere, which has huge problems. They are really on the brink with some of their properties, and Sea Isle City, which has been waiting a long time as well.
Do you sometimes take heat because people feel that tens of millions of dollars get spent and one nor'easter or one bad superstorm of some kind and it's all gone again?
Sure, all the time.
But of course, if you didn't do it, think about the erosion that would occur.
Absolutely. And again, it's about protecting lives and property. It's about the engineered beach. And, you know, it's interesting. Somebody really smart someday, there's going to be some engineering student who's going to figure out how to engineer a solution so that we don't have to pump every however many years it is.
Well, you know what people believe, and this was floated decades ago on this program, way before the erosion got as bad as it did, and we started to lose all the beach that we did here in Atlantic City and Down Beach, that when they closed off, Absecon Island used to be open, and sand used to be able to boomerang in and collect. But then they closed it off at the jetty, so that then it started. I have to believe this. It doesn't seem to be coincidental magic to me that the beach at the Wildwood, you need a vehicle to get from the boardwalk to the beach, to the ocean.
Well, Wildwood is donating their sand to North Wildwood.
It's incredible how much
it's
collecting there. That's what the Army Corps of Engineers has to take a look at.
Well, we've looked at so many different things. I've been involved over the years, Stevens Institute of Technology. They do some great modeling and some great work. And they came up with some designs that put these barriers off the coast. You couldn't see them. They were concrete barriers. They were just below the water line. They were designed in such a way that they would break the wave action that would supposedly stop the erosion from taking place. They were put in a pilot project off the coast of Avalon. It didn't work. We had another project that we tried off of Cape May City. It didn't work. So someday somebody's going to figure something out. But in the meantime, the alternative is to let it go and have no beach at all.
Which is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
And we want to get to the phones. Joe is up, but something did happen where Wildwood is collecting sand like nobody's business. It's unbelievable what's been happening.
Well, Dr. Stu Farrell, who is a tremendous local jewel and asset, has been studying this for, for decades. He can explain some of this in technical terms, but understandable technical terms. And there have been a lot of ideas, but what's happening in Wildwood has so much sand that the mayor of Wildwood came to me and wants an Army Corps project to extend the outfall pipes, because when water collects in almost small lakes, it's a health problem because of the gulls that come in.
Standing water.
And they just can't have the outfall pipes far enough to be able to get the water where it's supposed to be.
I mean, there's a difference between thirsting for more and having such an overabundance. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say they have too much beach.
Oh, they do.
Because when it's, people know that are beachgoers, when that sand is scalding hot, you can't even make it from the boardwalk down to the ocean.
They provide transportation for you to get
and they get those sand buggies and things.
Yeah.
Joe is standing by for the Congressman. The phone lines are open, so please check in. 609-407-1450. Hey, Joe, welcome to the program, and you can ask the Congressman right now.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. This is Joe from Marmora. Harry and I have talked before, and we were talking earlier about voting machines, Congressman, and some of the voting machines, it seems like aren't secure at all. Should we have national standards for voting machines requiring each state or each district to have certain types of machines that will be secure?
Well, it's certainly technically possible to do that. I mean, you can pass a national law, and if it's signed by the president, it's the law of the land. I don't think you're ever going to see it, Joe.
Could I just interject? Sure. Not that it's a Congressman show, but my understanding of how this was all set up is it's supposed to be 50 separate elections. It's set up that way on purpose. Yeah. One state has punch, ballots and the butterfly ballots in Palm Beach, and some have optical scanners. We have what used to be the Shoop electronic machine. Now it's a different kind of electronic machine. I think it was supposed to be, Joe, exactly as it is. Now, we don't want the elections to be crooked. There is a state that I did a whole piece on the other morning on our Hurley in the Morning program where they found out that these machines with a laptop or an iPad from right out front of the polling place, someone could have changed all the votes if they wanted to, and that they found out that the code to get into the system was A, B, C, D, E. That's how bad it was. That was how secure. Think about the sanctity of the vote in this country, but I don't know how you'd get one national election, because the whole point of the United States of America, we're 50 states, and we have 50 separate state elections. I think it flies in the face of the whole democratic republic.
I think it, again, excuse me for interrupting, but the states' rights issue will trump this. And even within states, counties have tremendous responsibility and authority to. So what happens in Atlantic County is different than what happens in Cumberland County.
It's true. Very true. I think, Joe, the idea is even if they're different setups, different standards, that they be fair and square. As long as it's honest, it doesn't really matter whether you're counting a butterfly ballot or if you're counting an optical scan ballot or pulling a tape from the back of an electronic machine, because we're doing them all, and some even paper ballots still. And one state, is it Oregon, Congressman, that the whole state is by mail or something?
By mail, yeah.
So, that's crazier than anything. I'll tell you the day I fear. I fear the day of being able to vote by email, the electric vote, that I think then we lose the republic, because they can do whatever they want with that.
Well, hacking is a huge problem, and whenever they say and tell you something is totally secure, I all of a sudden have a lot of question marks.
So, Joe, I want to boomerang this question right back between your eyes. Would you want the federal government, and this would be the executive branch, basically, I guess the Congress could pass some kind of law, but this would be the executive branch enacting national standards. Could you imagine the incumbent president having the power to control the way the vote would be counted, the way the vote would be cast? Would you want that? I say no to that.
Okay, but here's the thing. You could say, okay, I want all the states to have the following types of machines. Now, you can choose between machine A, B, C, or D. That's fine. But we want something secure. Look at the agony that Florida put us through with those stupid butterfly ballots and hanging chads and Al Gore throwing out thousands of military votes from the very people that allow us to vote in the first place. Their votes were discarded by Al Gore and company.
But, Joe, excuse me, Joe. Those discarded military votes had nothing to do with a voting machine.
Good point.
That
wouldn't change.
No.
Those people in theater, they'll be voting that same way, and you just have to hope that we have honest people that will say, hey, I don't know where that bag of ballots were, but they're putting their lives on the line. Those votes are going to count. That was obscene that they were handpicking Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, Broward, and picking Democrat counties, and that was pretty crooked stuff. But don't forget, there were a lot of layers to that. There was the Florida State Supreme Court, then the United States Supreme Court. I mean, that was incredible. Joe, thanks for the call.
All right.
Appreciate it. I know where you're going with it. I think we should keep it as it is and just make sure to the best that we can that each state puts on a fair election. I think people can live with that. If you're a national candidate, then you're really relying on how honest are all these 50 different elections that are going on. Then, of course, if you're running in one of those states at large in the whole state, you worry about it. If you're Congressman LoBiondo, you want there to be an even hand and an even deck in District 2, for example. So it's interesting stuff, and it's good to take your call. Let's go to another internet question for the Congressman. Congressman, this is from William in Egg Harbor Township, and he writes in that November 2014, we gave the Republican Party the numbers that they need to bring about change in the direction of this country. Thus far, we hear a lot of talk and little or no action. Congressman, from where you sit in Washington, what positive change do you see forthcoming for the rest of 2015 and into 2016?
Well, this is a great question. It's a question I get far too frequently now because of the frustration and anger that's developing from especially the Republican electorate, but really across the country, of an inability to get things done. Let me give you my take on it. Too many Republicans believe that the country fell in love with the Republican Party, and I don't think they did. I think that the Democrats really screwed up. The president really screwed up. His policies were such that the country wanted to send the president a message. When he said, I'm not on the ballot, but my policies were, that gave everybody an open opportunity. So Republicans take almost historic numbers in the House. They take over the Senate. And what happens? They start believing that in the Senate, you've got a couple of senators who believe that they have the answer to everything and nobody else does. And they either have it their way or no way at all.
We're going to get a quick break in. That's a very sobering assessment. And I totally agree with it, because those who believe that America just was overjoyed with the other side was just fortunate not to be the incumbent party. And the American people had the sense to say, we really don't like the way things are going. We don't want to give more power to what's going on now. So we want to put some brakes and a check and balance and some new policies. You know, it's interesting. I think at the same time, we can make an argument. It might fall upon deaf ears that people don't feel that enough is getting done, but you can't call this a do-nothing Congress. You guys have been voting like crazy.
There's been a lot that's going on, especially from the House of Representatives side, but you have the same problem in the Senate, that for the most part, you need 54 Republicans. Not all of them are on board. If the Democrats hold together as they've been, you can't even get it up for a vote. That's what happened on Homeland Security.
Yep. Now, of course, you actually need 66, because even if you get it out of the Senate, the president is most oftentimes going to survive a veto.
But at least if you get it on his desk, the media will start to ask some questions.
And the American people can see that legislation was passed.
Exactly.
Both houses, and that he stopped it.
Right.
Let's take a brief time out. We're going to come right back. Don't be shy. Jump in. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. We're at 29 minutes past the hour, and you are either viewing or listening to Ask the Congressman with our distinguished Congressman, United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo from the 2nd Congressional District of New Jersey, in studio this hour. Mayor Don Guardian coming up in the next hour.
The news you need.
Developer Glenn Straub still having a hard time keeping the lights on at Revel. He brought in 3 big generator trucks after the power plant cut him off. Now the state says the trucks are too old and too dirty. He'll have to find newer units.
And the opinions you love.
The biggest mistake is we allow the government to take our money before we even get it. And most people don't even count it as their money anymore.
WPG Talk Radio 1450, South Jersey's talk station.
Caring for geriatric pets. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Young, brought to you by Jersey Shore Pharmacy Compounding.
And I'm Mark Taylor, owner pharmacist of Jersey Shore Pharmacy, compounding medication solutions for juniors to seniors to pets.
It's common for dogs to live 14 to 15 years. The classic 1 human year equals 7 dog years isn't accurate. Large breed dogs are considered senior at 6 or 7 years old and over 10 years old for small breeds.
As dogs become seniors, they slow down. They hesitate using stairs and struggle getting up. Other signs include a graying face, reduced reduced hearing, cloudy or bluish eyes, and muscle atrophy.
Your pet may be a senior, but that does not mean you still can't have a loving, fulfilling relationship that you're used to. When you have a medication problem, Jersey Shore Pharmacy is your compounding solution.
We prepare hard-to-find medications, customized creams, and flavor medications in easy-to-give forms for dogs, cats, and exotic pets. Jersey Shore Pharmacy provides the highest quality products with a caring, knowledgeable service.
Jersey Shore Pharmacy, that's compounding excellence. For more information, visit JerseyShorePharmacy.com.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the Congressman, brought to you by Jersey Shore Compounding Pharmacy. Compounding medication solutions from juniors to seniors to pets. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Hey, thanks, and welcome back. We're going to go back to your calls, which are the priority of this program. That's the whole point. It is Ask the Congressman, and you can watch our program on our YouTube channel, WPG1450.com. Of course, you can listen at WPG 1450 on the 1450 AM band, on our Radio Pup app, which is Town Square Media's own dedicated radio application for your smartphones, your iPhones, your Android phones. And, of course, if you go to the WPG1450.com website, at the top right side of each page, no matter what page you are on, you'll see the Listen Live button. Just click on that, and you can listen right from your iPad, your smartphone, any digital device. And it's time to Ask the Congressman. Congressman LoBiondo is waiting for you.
Well, hi, Congressman. Please tell us what you and the House Republicans are doing to free the U.S. Marine being held by the Iranian government.
Great question.
It is. And this is, you know, we have so many major sources of frustration. This isn't passing a law isn't going to do this. This requires Secretary of State Kerry, who's in with the Iranians like every day.
Could we say it requires leadership?
It requires leadership. This is like Tamarisi. So the Mexicans are holding him. The president talks to the president of Mexico, never even brings it up. Kerry is in Mexico on a visit, never brings it up. So unless the administration makes this a priority, the Congress can stand on its head. And this, you know, I just don't get how they would not put pressure and make it visible. You know, talk about it. I'm in total agreement with you, and I think it's a disgrace the way it's being handled.
And before you go, let me just jump in for people that don't know, because this is something that we are talking a lot about on the Hurley in the Morning program, because these are the kinds of things. It's so unjust that we would even consider to negotiate and to remove sanctions and to grant kindness and to do these things for such a regime. This Marine is sometimes in a 3-foot by 3-foot box, basically. That's his torture cell. He's being tortured. He has been drugged and then put through the incredible pain of withdrawal. They have been doing all kinds of torturous things to him. And Congressman, I want to echo Ann's sentiment and yours. I can't believe that we are negotiating in good faith. And he's not the only American that they have hostage right now.
No, this is. I can't find the right words that would be acceptable over radio to say how frustrating, disappointing, and how wrong this is. That we don't hear anything from the administration about what they're doing. And, you know, I don't want to hear this behind the scenes stuff. That was maybe a while back. Now it's time to be very public. And if the Iranians want something, then we ought to have some things on the table. And it doesn't appear that the administration
Can you square, and stay with us, can you square, Congressman, the energy the President of the United States did to get the deserter out and to trade him for the Taliban the 5 Taliban or Al-Qaeda generals? We already know at least 3 of them, you know, are ready to join the jihad, and all 5 of them
June 1st. June 1st.
There you go. Their year is up. They've been living in opulent, you know, lifestyle. They're not at all, you know, prisoners, but yet we get our guy back. They're having rose garden ceremonies, and I'm just joining the peanut gallery of saying, what the heck's going on around here?
Yeah, well, that's why we scratch our head and our hair catches fire and all these other things, because, and how is the national media not crawling all over this? I mean, you know, so we have some great local media that's bringing it up and talking about it. But how come How come the national media isn't asking Secretary Kerry? How come the national media isn't doing this when President Obama has a press conference? And since he doesn't have that many, how come Josh Ernst does not get this question every single time he gets behind the podium? Maybe then they would understand that this is serious for the American people, but it is very wrong.
And anything else for the Congressman?
Just a question is, can the House do something in terms of passing a resolution or doing something and making a lot of publicity about it, presenting it to the president?
Well, yes, we can. And in the past, we've been accused of, grandstanding. I'm going to ask about it again.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it's legitimate, and I'll try to find out if there's anything movement here.
And I think it's a great suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Have a great night. Thanks for listening and for calling in. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. Here is a victory when listeners are writing into the program tonight and calling into the program. Hey, what are you guys doing? Congressman LoBiondo, you got the majority now. What are you doing? I thought it was a great moment. I hope it's not symbolism over substance and that something can actually come of it. But you can only do what you can do, and that is you voted and your colleagues voted to repeal this regressive death tax, estate tax, whatever you want to call it. It has to be one of the most filthy, regressive, incredibly poor ideas that the Congress ever came up with, because this is, or the administration too, in the past. This is terrible that people pay a whole lot of taxes, and then the event of dying means the government gets another bite. That's terrible.
It really is, and the rhetoric coming out of the other side is very hard to listen to. So here's the reality: the death tax, the estate tax, it's all the same thing. Taxes have already been paid on those dollars, already been paid. So it's double taxation. And what happened when you work hard, you have a good idea, and you make money, and you pass it on? Now, but it's even more egregious than that. Here in South Jersey, in this district, we have a lot of farmers, we have a lot of small businesses. The ability of a farmer to keep the farm when the principal dies is almost impossible. Farmers' equity is in their land. The way things work here is because the farmers have such a hard time, they borrow in the spring to be able to plant the crop and get the materials that they need, and they borrow against the value of their land. So that's not liquid wealth that they have in a bank account somewhere. So when the farmer dies, somebody comes in and says, well, you're worth his tagline. And in order to satisfy the death tax, the property has to be sold. Terrible. So that farm is gone. The same holds true with a small business. And the statistics on being able to turn from one generation to the next are staggering, and that means a loss of jobs. And that means that you're throwing a bucket of cold water on the American spirit of creating a business and keeping a business going and all these other things. So it's a matter of fairness, and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, some of them get it. It was a bipartisan vote, not enough to override the president, but it's the type of thing I don't think we can give up on. I think we have to keep going after it.
But as of right now, the Senate won't have 60 votes, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way they can bring it up. Do you think the Senate should do what Harry Reid did? Harry Reid decided that he was tired of waiting, and he picked some areas, certain judges, not Supreme Court nominees, but all the other judges, and he said, you know what? We're going to turn over 200 and some years of American history, and you're not going to be able to do this anymore. This filibuster, this is over as far as we're concerned. Do you think the Republicans should cast a vote any day soon and just say that a majority is going to carry the day? Now, I know that's a slippery slope because you're in control now. Someday you're not going to be in control, but they can block everything. Well, they can. And the temptation is to do just as you said. It's called the nuclear option.
Except when Harry Reid did it. And they didn't call it nuclear.
Well, they did inside the Beltway. They did.
That's true.
So here's what we're facing. We saw it tonight with an email and I hear it all the time, the frustrations and the anger. The Republicans are in control and you're not doing anything. So 2 years of very short cycle, presidential election. If enough people feel, as some of our listeners did, that Republicans don't deserve to have the opportunity to be in the majority, and that flips, then you've got Chuck Schumer, who's just going to be running rampant with anything he wants to do with 51 votes. And if we lose the presidency, it's not even 51, it's 50. True. Because the vice president breaks the tie. So as much as I would want to see us do it, I have a fear that really could come back, and it wouldn't be good for the country, and it would bite us.
I agree with you. I totally do. It's tempting, but it's been done a certain way for a reason. Exactly. And it's very tantalizing to want to have it for a certain period and change it. But once you change it, you've really, I think, messed it up.
Yeah, it'll never go back.
Let's take our final time out. We've got another power segment straight ahead, 41 minutes past the hour. It's Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Ask the Congressman. Jump in, 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open right now. Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian on deck with Ask the Mayor, coming up in our 6 o'clock hour.
Visit the WPG Talk Radio 1450 YouTube channel through WPG1450.com to access exclusive video content from South Jersey's talk station. Watch every episode of Ask the Mayor with Don Guardian and Ask the Congressman with Frank LoBiondo on demand. Plus, see videos from Harry Hurley.
Tonight will feature major breaking news, Dateline Atlantic City,
and more. Subscribe to the WPG Talk Radio 1450 YouTube channel today.
Benefits of compounding for veterinarians and pet parents. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Young, brought to you by Jersey Shore Pharmacy Compounding.
And I'm Mark Taylor, owner-pharmacist of Jersey Shore Pharmacy, compounding medication solutions from juniors to seniors to pets.
Your pets are special. You want them to have a treatment as sophisticated as you receive yourself. Pharmacy compounding is a popular solution to veterinary problems.
Compounding is a science of preparing customized medications for patients. Its resurgence in recent years extends valuable benefits to today's pet parents. A compounding pharmacist is equipped to deal with many unique problems in medicating pets. Domestic, exotic, large or small, even animals in zoos and aquariums.
A caring veterinarian working with a compounding pharmacist can improve the health and happiness of your pets. When you have a medication problem, Jersey Shore Pharmacy is your compounding solution.
We prepare hard-to-find medications, customized creams, and specially flavored medication in easy-to-give forms for dogs, cats, and exotic pets. Jersey Shore Pharmacy provides the highest quality products with a caring, knowledgeable service.
Jersey Shore Pharmacy, that's compounding excellence. For more information, visit JerseyShorePharmacy.com.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the Congressman, brought to you by Jersey Shore Compounding Pharmacy. Compounding medication solutions from juniors to seniors to pets. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Thank you very much and welcome back. The program flying by as it always does, 43 minutes past the hour. And again, phone lines are open, as that great announcer just said, 609-407-1450. Congressman, let's turn to some of your foreign affairs duties. What's the latest on this so-called, every time I hear a deal, I think that the furthest you can stretch it is this term framework for a deal. And I think that's even a stretch when you have them chanting death to America, death to Israel. They're not going to allow the highest ranking people in Iran are saying they're not going to allow any inspections. I mean, this is just, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, I don't know if Hollywood could write this script. So from what we heard, the rhetoric of the president and his top folks, Secretary of State, then Hillary Clinton, now Secretary of State John Kerry, we're going to be tough on the Iranians and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It is now at the point where the president might as well just say, I just will sign anything. And it looks like that's where they're heading.
Is this crazy legacy building? Well, what are we talking about here? Why would we do a deal where Iran can continue to enrich uranium? Does anybody in their right mind believe it's for peaceful purposes? We had the State Department actually chide our great ally, the State of Israel, and the Prime Minister Netanyahu, while saying that Iran is being reasonable. This is our foreign policy.
Yeah, and if you need further evidence of how flawed this is, how do we not even mention Iran's rush to develop a delivery system, ICBMs, that's not domestic capability. That's to put a warhead on top of to get here, to get at Western allies. And it's not even being mentioned as something that can be brought up. And then when the Russians talk about selling a weapon system to the Iranians, Secretary Kerry gives us a lecture about how, well, there's some things you just have to give them.
And these are missiles.
Yeah. I mean,
what would those missiles be used for?
Well, they claim it's defensive purposes only. Yeah, it's defensive purposes because they want to deny Israel the ability to do what the United States won't do at the negotiating table.
Do you think it's possible because Israel and the United States, this incredible relationship that we've had prior to the past 6.5 years, and I'm not being partisan, it's just absolutely true. This administration has been hideous to Israel and to this prime minister in particular, and they sent political operatives to try to defeat him in his reelection. I mean, things that just are unbelievable. Do you think it's possible that Israel will have to go it alone and actually have to take care of business on their own because of fear of what we're about to unleash?
Well,
I can't rule that out. Can you?
I don't. Well, I was on the floor of the House of Representatives when Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed a joint session of Congress, and I think he made it pretty clear without mincing words that Israel would do whatever it had to do. They would rather not have to go down a road like that, but that his responsibility, Israel's responsibility, was to protect the state of Israel. And it looks like the administration has, I don't know whether it's ego, I don't know how you justify that the president would be friendlier with the dictator Castro than he would be with the prime minister of Israel. They're our only reliable ally in the Middle East. They're not asking for us to send troops. All they want us to do is to be a partner and let them do what they need to do and not have us sign away their destiny by a bad deal. So we're hanging our hat on the fact that the Russians and the Chinese are agreeing to something that the Iranians insanity.
Can you explain this sort of 30-day review that Congress negotiated? I know it's not what you wanted, but it was something the president was willing to sign. Is it meaningful? Does Congress truly have the role? I mean, I know the Senate would be the one that would typically vote on treaties and things like that. Does it have any teeth, to your knowledge?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think it's a cop-out.
Well, and the fact that he was willing to sign it tells me it can't be good.
Yeah, that tells you that this is a way out for him to say, sure, I gave Congress a voice. He's not giving them a voice. I mean, the original idea, what Senator Menendez pushed for and what Senator Corker pushed for, got watered down. But look for any little bit of silver lining, that if this is really a bad deal, and the provisions will have to be made public at some point. If they sign it, it's going to be public. And if the Ayatollah starts touting about how they, took the Americans out to lunch and all this other stuff, then sanctions are the jurisdiction of Congress. And if the president oversteps, as I think he might be apt to do, he can sign the agreement he wants. But if Congress passes a stronger sanctions bill, which we were on the edge of doing, Senator Menendez sort of pulled back on that a little bit, and the president vetoes it, there could be numbers to override him. So that would be an incredible scenario, that the deal with the Iranians would be inked, but in fact, it would be a broken deal because the Ayatollah said that the sanctions have to be lifted immediately. And if Congress passes a stronger sanctions bill, the president vetoes it and it's overridden, the sanctions are in place. The president cannot avoid that. So that's the little bit of a backstop, which gives me some small modicum of hope that they've got to be a little bit careful here. But I think the president is determined. He wants to sign something. It only is. And when you've got the Iranians dictating the terms of the agreement, and here's the other thing you've got to think about, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Iranians walk away from this now. They continue to do what they're doing. And if they start it up again in 6 months, we're left with the latest offer we made them on the table. They start from there. They don't start from scratch.
And they also don't honor anything that they don't want to. and they get everything they believe they're entitled to.
Right.
It's a terrible way of doing business.
Well, we're negotiating from a position of weakness, I think, and that's what people in that part of the world exploit. And remember this, in the history of the world, no country has ever been attacked for being too strong. No country in the history of the world has ever been attacked for being too strong. Countries are attacked either because they're perceived to be weak or they are weak. And that's where the problem comes in, that I think our enemies don't fear us and our allies don't trust us. And that is a disastrous formula.
Congressman, completely unrelated, but I want to congratulate you. There's a poll that's been done statewide, which I think is very interesting because it's not just people that voted in this area. It was people that voted all over the state. And it asked people to vote for the best New Jersey member of the House of Representatives on the Republican side. So you have Rodney Frelinghuysen, Scott Garrett, Leonard Lance, Tom MacArthur, Chris Smith, and of course our own Congressman Frank LoBiondo. And I know you're very collegial, and this is not to to do anything negative to any of your colleagues, but you did win the poll, and that was statewide. And it was just something that I had been following, and I wanted to note that to your listeners tonight, that it is something where people around the state honored your work.
Well, it's pretty humbling. I wasn't aware. I take it as good news and motivation to try to do even better.
You were first, just to give you an idea. Let's see. Scott Garrett was second. And let's see. Leonard Lance was third.
Oh.
To give you an idea, win, place, and show.
Very interesting.
I know you're a huge history buff, and in a way, how couldn't you be? Because for the past 20 years, you've had a seat and a view of some of the most majestic things on the planet, and that is the way that what I call the seat of government, the way Jefferson and others envisioned. He put Monticello where it was because he wanted to see certain things, and everything is in a certain location, not by accident, but for a purpose. So just the optics are amazing, but I know you're a huge history buff. I know you're a huge Abraham Lincoln buff, and we just hit the 150th year. So that's a milestone. Your thoughts?
Well, I have an insatiable appetite for anything about Lincoln. Before I was a member of Congress, and especially since being a member of Congress, I drive myself back and forth to Washington. Every book I can get on CD, I've listened to, every documentary that I can look at. And in the original chamber where Congress met, which is now called Statuary Hall, very often late at night when session is over, the Capitol's closed down, the public is not there. I will go into the original chamber, and there are brass tiles where the desks of more notable members of Congress actually sat. And in those days, the only heat came from the fireplaces, so the senior members sat up front so they could be a little bit warmer, and the freshman members were all the way in the back. And there's one brass tile, 1847 to 1849, Abraham Lincoln. And I sometimes will just stand there, Harry, and try to imagine what this great man was thinking, what this great man went through, what he would say today about the problems we're facing, how he did not give up in the face of such overwhelming odds that would have had anybody that was in any way weaker than him throw their hands up and give up. So the 150-year mark of the assassination of President Lincoln, more information coming out about how his leadership provided the Union to hold together. It's an incredible story that we can all take a lot of motivation from and a lot of inspiration from. And boy, heaven knows we need a lot of both.
You know, if you think about, just 2,000 plus years since, AD, thousands of years recorded history before that, BC, and that this is really just a blink of an eye when you think about it. 150 years sounds like it's an incredibly long time, but it really isn't when you think about it.
No, it is. It certainly is not. And it brings into focus those who came before Lincoln, those who've come after Lincoln, the challenges that our country faces, that we faced then, how we overcame those challenges, and what we're doing today. and the inspirational leadership that is sometimes required. The country was in pretty rough shape in the 1850s and 1860s. And if you think about it, if we were floundering around without leadership, what would that have meant? I often wonder, Harry, did President Lincoln, because the polls of the day were all really down on him, too much loss of life, too much loss of treasure, end the war, it doesn't matter. I wonder, did President Lincoln ever think, instead of the Emancipation Proclamation, of making an address to the country and saying, you know, we've tried our best, we're just going to have to live with the Confederacy?
How about that? See? No, he didn't compromise because he knew, he principally took a stand and knew. And if you think about it, we think about war in terms of fighting an enemy. Can anybody really process what that was like, a civil war within our own country? That's really a burden on a commander-in-chief that, well, it's never happened in American history other than then. It's just unbelievable.
It is. And I was telling you off air that there was very recently an incredible two-part series, 2 hours each, 4 hours, that was a documentary of the Civil War, but it was in living color because they had the technology to go back with the commentary and the discussion and the debate repeatedly pointing to the leadership that was necessary to keep the Union together and how close we came. How very close we came to this all slipping away.
And it'd be like one of those time tunnel or, fiction, science fiction episodes, which I have seen before. I don't know if you've ever seen one. Did you ever see a movie where the other side won and the Union Army lost and the Confederate won? And really, if you think about it, not only we would be a much different country, I don't think we would exist right now.
Probably not.
It just wouldn't be compatible to what this incredible democratic republic has turned out to be. And it's like a lot of things. I mean, just look at what Washington did. Just the formation of this country was a miracle.
True.
Just truly, truly amazing stuff. Congressman, one of the things that I have immense respect for you, you know your role at the federal level. You have a lot of respect for the local, the county, and the state representatives. Talk to your listeners about what you feel your role is, your role at the federal level is in terms of supporting the district.
Well, I think for us to succeed, it's got to be a partnership. The partners each bring a strength to the table, and with the huge, immense challenges that we're facing today, especially here in the eastern part of the district in Atlantic County, with the misery index so very high, that this partnership is more important than it's ever been before. I know you're going to have Mayor Guardian on after I leave. He has been an incredible leader in Atlantic City. He's been a very good friend. We meet on a regular basis, and I'm constantly asking the mayor to let me know what I can try to bring to the table from the federal perspective. There have been some things that we've been able to bring together with the emergency grant. There's some other things that we're working on. The mayor's got some very tough odds that he's got to face up to here, but he's doing it in an incredible way. And the state of New Jersey and County of Atlantic, Denny Levinson and Atlantic County, what the state is doing, all of this, if we're going to succeed, is going to require this partnership to all be together. And it's a big challenge right now because it's not fast and it's not easy.
After we took the half a haircut from a nearly $6 billion casino mecca to about half of that right now, and it's probably going to go even below half. And we were once 12 or 13, now we're 8, and I hope that's a number that we can sustain. I think we have to push back on this new North Jersey discussion, but that for another day. Do you feel a sense of that we have sort of hit bottom, that we're getting our mojo back? We see people willing to invest again in Atlantic City, whether it's Straub, whether it's Blatstein, Steelman with the playground. Do you feel like we're coming back?
I do. And I think that it's difficult if you're one of the individuals that is facing losing everything to be optimistic. But the reality is that there are a lot of good things happening. The reality is that even before we're into the really good weather summer season, that the numbers that we're showing are very, very lead to a lot of optimism. If you listen to what's being reported to be on the venue for the summertime, there's a lot of hope to be given. If you listen to Bart Blatstein, and I was at that press conference.
Wasn't that great?
Here's a guy who has never failed at anything that made a public pronouncement that this was going to be his greatest success ever. Now, that's the kind of stuff that we're going to need, and that will become, I think, contagious.
I'll tell you another thing about the Blatstein and the Steelman proposal. I've seen a lot of these proposals with fancy videos and poster boards and all these different things, and you just never really know, is it really going to happen, or is it just a great show that we saw today? I believe them, and I know Paul Steelman for over 35 years. They're putting their money up. They're going to do this, and we're going to see a lot of improvements by July 4th.
That's right. There's the first phase of this is going to be open. You've got Borgata is going to have some things going on. There was just an announcement. There's going to be 2 fireworks shows, July 3rd and July 4th.
Fantastic.
That always brings a lot of people into town. I think there's a good reason for optimism, and we have a lot of naysayers, and I don't want to belittle or minimize the problems that we have. They are enormous, but I think we're on the right track to pull out of this.
Congressman, closing minute or so, and then we'll wrap up, and we'll get ready for Ask the Mayor coming up next in just a few minutes. In terms of this year, the year before presidential election cycle, there's an atmosphere, and you've been through a lot of these now. And then next year, when it is an actual presidential election cycle, it's a very different feel as a member of Congress. Is this sort of the next 6 months, sort of the last best chance to get certain things done?
Every minute we lose is 1 minute less because, as you can tell, this presidential election cycle comes earlier and earlier and earlier. You've got senators who are running for president who have their own view of what they will and won't do, and yet we have a very small window here. Very, very small window.
Congressman, closing comment. What are you spending your time on in the near future and for as far out as you want to forecast? What are you going to be doing?
Well, most of the time we spend in Washington, we spend on our committees. So for me, the FAA reauthorization bill is enormous for us, with almost 5,000 people who do incredible work for the FAA right here in Egg Harbor Township. Having that done on time without extensions or without any other nonsense is big. It's a lot of work behind the scenes. The National Defense Authorization Bill, we're going to be in a very intense period over the next 2 months, making sure we have the right policies for our military. And of course, the committee that I can't talk details on, the House Intelligence Committee, where I have the honor of chairing the CIA subcommittee, that we're more consumed than we've ever been about finding the right formula to protect our country in the face of a barbaric terrorist threat that just gets more intense every day.
Congressman, it always flies by. Great to spend this time with you. To all of our listeners, those that called in, Joe and John, William, Ann, and everybody else that participated, whether it be through email or by dialing up the program, we appreciate your participation. That's the whole point, to ask the Congressman, your opportunity to have access to your representative. And it is nice to spend this time with you, sir.
Sure. And Harry, thank you for all you do to keep everybody informed.
Thank you, sir. We'll catch you next month.
Yes, absolutely.
And we look forward to it. And we'll share with everyone that date as soon as it's set. Chris always does a good job, and we try to also do a good job on Hurley in the Morning to tell you what's going to be happening. We're going to break. It's 3 going on 4 minutes past the hour. When we come back, we'll feather seamlessly from the federal level down to the local level. We may be joined for a few minutes by an Atlantic City councilman. We'll feather right to the mayor right after that. Stay with us. It's Ask the Mayor coming up next.
Glenn Beck, weekdays 10 to 1.